Hi guys, welcome back to Central Urban Gardens. I am so happy you are here today and take a deep breath with me, and this is the heart of the summer. The garden is full of life right now, full of flavors and full of beautiful surprise. So today I am taking you on a little walk through my garden, and this space has become so much more than just where I grow foods. It's where I find peace, reflect on my roots and stay connected to the season. And every time I step outside, it reminds me of the garden I grew up in, where I picked jasmine for my grandmother every morning and sat under the logan tree, sharing story and snack. And that memory live here, every seed I sow and every harvest I bring to the table. And this season has been abandoned. My tomatoes are bigger than ever. My peppers are spicy and bold. Eggplants of all kinds are thriving. And my corn bed, yes, the one that I set right on the concrete. I will talk about it later with you guys. And the corn is growing so tall and strong. And I got crisp cucumbers climbing up on their trellis. And tender water spinach burst with leaf. And my dragon fruit wall come out really nicely. And on the north side of the garden, where the sun is a little softer, I got a whole corner dedicated with the herbs that I grow up with. Okay, so come along, let me show you what's growing this summer, and let's start right here with my eggplants. They are putting on quite a show this year. Eggplants are one of my absolute favorite to grow, and I have a couple varieties this season. The first one is Japanese eggplants. It's long, deep purple, slim, and so tender, and it cooks quickly, and it also has mild flavors. I love using it for grilling and stir fry. And then the Black Beauty. It's classic, round, and hearty, and it takes a little longer to ripe, but when it does, you will get a glossy, rich eggplants that's perfect for roasting and also for eggplant parmesan. So here a quick tip on growing healthy eggplants. Make sure they get enough sunlight. They love full sun, and keep the soil consistent moist. Do not let the soil dry out within watering. And to stay on the top of flea beetle or caterpillar, you can use neem oil or BT. And for fertilizer, you can give them a little bit of fish fertilizer to boost leafy growth, but you don't want to use too much. And also give them a calcium-rich fertilizer to prevent blossom unrot. All right, so now let's talk about tomato. Tomato is one of the highlights of my summer garden. Just look at these beauty, big, plump, and full of flavors. Nothing from the store even come close to the taste of homegrown tomato that's still warm from the sun. And I train these tomato plants to grow upright and using sturdy cages, and also let them climb on the trellis edge. And I tie them loosely with the garden tape so they will have support as they grow taller and heavier with fruits. I also prune the lower leaf and some of the sucker as well, and this will help with some airflow, reduce disease, and also keep the plant focused on producing strong fruits. So here is a quick tip on growing healthy tomato. So the key to a good harvest is consistent watering. I dip water at the base of the plants early in the morning to keep the root happy. Tomato don't like inconsistent moisture. It can cause the fruit to crack or lead into blossom unrot, especially in the heat. And feeding is also important too. So every 2 weeks, I give my tomato plants a balanced fertilizer that has a little extra in calcium and potassium, because that will help the fruit development and also prevent issue like blossom unrot. You also can use a compost tea or fish fertilizer. Just make sure not to overdo with the nitrogen, because you will get all the leaf but no fruits. And one last tip is pick them often, because the more you harvest, the more the plant will encouraging to keep producing. Some of these tomatoes have gone straight from the vine to the cutting board within minutes. And I love them sliced thick and just sprinkle a little bit of sea salt or chop them up for fresh salsa or bruschetta. Okay, so are you ready to move on to peppers? So right here is my little pepper jungle, and this spot always buzzing with colors and heat. I grow several types of small hot peppers this season, and they've been so productive this summer. Alright, so here's a quick tip on growing healthy and productive peppers. So pepper plants love the heat and also consistent water. I water them deeply, but I let the top few inches of soil dry out between watering, because that will really encourage the roots to grow stronger, and because of peppers, they don't like soggy feet. And for fertilizer, I use a mix that is a little lower in nitrogen but higher in phosphorus and potassium because this will help with the flowering and fruit development. And for the smaller peppers varieties, I also pinch growing tips when the plants are young, which is encourage them to branch out and produce more peppers. And look at all of these little pepper forming. Some of the plants have dozens on them at once. And when you pick regularly, it's tells the plants to keep growing. And before you know it, you will got more pepper than enough to share with friends or preserve for later. And some of these tiny but mighty, like Thai chili and bird-eyed peppers, they grow in cluster and ripe so fast. I harvest them often to encourage more blooms and keep the energy going into fruiting. I also use this for stir-fried chili oil and pickling too. But the one that always gets the attention is Buena Mulata peppers. These stunning deep purples that slowly ripens to a smoky red. Isn't this gorgeous? I love them so much. It looks like something out from the painting. And the color will change as it matures from a deep purple to a light purple and to a smoky red. And this pepper will add a beautiful contrast to your garden. And not to mention that it packed a nicely spicy cake. I love drying them and using them fresh in salsa and also in hot sauce. And now let's talk about cucumbers. They've been growing really well this season. I planted them in a simple Vigo Easy Cube planter with built-in trellis to save space and also improve airflow, which is really helps reduce powdery mildew. I'm growing a few varieties this season, including Japanese cucumbers, pickling, and Persian cucumbers. Those are my favorite. I pick them young for the best crunch and flavor. So here is a quick tip to grow healthy cucumbers. I keep the soil consistently moist. Cucumbers grow fast, but they don't like to dry out. Make sure to check the moisture daily, especially during the heat wave. For fertilizer, I use fish fertilizer at the early stage to promote healthy leaf growth. Then, when they start flowering, I switch a fertilizer to higher in potassium to boost fruit production. And if you notice curled cucumbers or wonky shaped cucumbers, it's time to check on pollination. Sometimes I hand pollinate my cucumbers to have them grow nice and straight because they are one of the most rewarding crops, crunchy, refreshing, and perfect for summer snacking. And look at my corn, it's doing so well this year. And what makes it extra exciting is that I'm growing it right on the concrete in my raised bed. And it just goes to show that you don't need in-ground space to grow something big. And I often get asked if that's even possible. So the key is making sure that the bed is deep enough. Mine is about 17 inches tall. My raised bed are from Vigo raised bed. And I lay with resistance on the bottom to prevent the soil from leak out. And then I fill it with rich mix of compost and potting mix. You can also use garden soil, also raised bed soil as well to make sure that the root have everything that they need. And before planting, I add some slow release all-purpose fertilizer, also the fertilizer that's rich in nitrogen, because corn is a heavy feeder, especially when it's putting on all the leafy growth. And I plant my corn in row to help out with pollination. Corn is a wind pollinated, so having the plant close together make it easier for the pollen to fall from the tassel into the seal. So here are a few care tips. I water deeply about 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the heat. And this is important. As soon as the tassels start showing, I switch to a fertilizer that have more phosphorus and potassium to support ear development. And as you can see here, I sow some long beans. When you grow corn, you can grow either pole bean or long bean, and you use the corn stalk as their trellis. Because doing that, you can maximize the space. And now let's talk about pests, because corn does attract a few uninvited guests. The most common one in my garden is corn earworms. They love to get into the tip of the ears and start munching down on the kernel. And to prevent that, I do a little trick that I've learned over time. So when the seeds start turning brown, I add a tiny drop of vegetable oil, or you can use neem oil as well. Put it right on the tip of the silk because this will help block the worm from entering into the corn. Okay, so let's check out my water spinach. Water spinach has been one of my favorite summer green and is one of the most easiest to grow and very productive. And water spinach thrive in warm weather and absolutely love moisture. So make sure keep the soil consistently damp, especially during the hot week. I grow my water spinach from seed, but you also can grow from cutting. I grow it in a sunny spot with some afternoon shade, which help prevent wilting. And water spinach can grow really fast, so the more you harvest, the more you get. So here are some quick tips to grow healthy water spinach. The key is keeping the soil consistently moist because this plant loves water and this plant even grow in water. Just like its name suggests, make sure to never let the soil dry. And for fertilizer, since water spinach is leafy green, they love nitrogen-rich fertilizer. So I use fish fertilizer, or you can use compost tea every 2 to 3 weeks to keep the leaf lush and green. So whether you saute it with garlic and toss into noodle soup, water spinach is one of my favorite greens to grow, tender, flavorful, and perfect for summer meals. And move along to the bed close by. I planted multiple things. Garlic chive over here growing well. And look at my Italian sweet basil. Look at this. This raised bed receive a morning sun and afternoon shade. So I have some cilantro, rosemary, oregano, and thymes. And I also planted a couple of cucumber plants. And this one is tomato. It's like everything in one raised bed. When growing your vegetable in the backyard garden, urban garden, I try to maximize the space as much as possible. I started 5 years ago right at that corner only with a few containers, but right now I have 22 raised beds. And over to this wooden bed, I just pull out some of the zucchini and squash, and I sow some long beans. This is the green long beans and the burgundy long beans, and I have several cucumbers planted, the pickling varieties, and over here I sow some bush bean. There's multi-colors bush bean in this raised bed. And I also save a few of my squash and zucchini plants that I grow them vertically to save some space. I have a full video on how to grow squash and zucchini vertically that you guys can check that out. And look at my dragon fruit wall. So dragon fruit is one of the most unique and exciting feature in my garden. And I have to say that I am so proud of how well it's doing, especially after I replanted just a couple months ago. So I decided to completely redo this space and rebuild the dragon fruit wall using the fresh cutting from my old plants and also replace all the old containers with Vigo dragon fruit containers. This container is very special because it has wheel that you can move inside and outside, especially for you guys that live in the colder climate and want to grow dragon fruit. You can bring them indoor during winter, and also it's self-watering and built-in trellis. It was a bit of work, but totally worth it. And I have a full YouTube video I posted a couple months ago when we redo this space, so you guys can check that out on my page. And dragon fruit is actually a type of cactus, so it loves heat and good drainage. So that means the most important part, if the roots sit in the soggy soil, they will rot. So I plant them in a mixture of potting mix, organic compost, and perlite for drainage, and they will done really well in container. For me, I have good experience growing them in container than in ground. Each plant supported with a post or a trellis, and the reason that I really love this container, this planter, because it has built-in trellis and it's very sturdy. I guide the arms upward, so when they reach to the top, I let them hang and branch out naturally. That's where they usually start to flowers and eventually produce fruits. So here are a few quick tips. I water deeply, but only when the top few inches of soil are dry. And in summer, I probably water 1 or 2 times a week. And for fertilizer, I feed them with low nitrogen fertilizer, or you can use cactus fertilizer about once a month during the growing season, because if you feed them too much nitrogen, you will get a lot of greens but no flowers. And when the flower buds appear, usually in the evening, and they only bloom for one night, and it's so magical. I always try to catch it and do the time lapse, and the bloom are huge, white and fragrant. And since many varieties of the dragon fruit, they are not self-pollinating. Some variety may need hand pollinating in the evening or early morning to improve fruit sets, and it's only take a soft brush and a few seconds. I really love this dragon fruit wall, and it's not just for the fruit, it's for how architectural and exotic it looks. It adds high structure and so many personality to this side of the garden. And I am really looking forward to seeing it mature more over the years. Alright guys, so before we wrap up around the Southside Gardens, let's take a look at my curry plants that I'm growing in large container. And this one don't always get the spotlight, but it brings so much flavor and joy in the kitchen. I use the fresh leaf in so many authentic Cambodian food, and nothing beat the aroma of homegrown curry leaf. Next, let's talk about my fruit tree. I got some fruit trees coming along nicely. My guava is doing really well, starting to leaf out and produce more each year. And I'm not sure about the variety, but this guava is not ripened pink, and it's best to eat green with some chili salt. And this is my fuyu persimmon tree that always loaded with fruits every year, and I cannot wait for those sweet crunchy fruit in fall. But the star of the whole gardens, without a doubt, is my pomegranate tree. Everyone's favorite. It's full of life with glossy green leaf, beautiful bright flowers, and a big shiny bright red color fruits. Now over here is my dwarf hash avocado tree. I planted a few years ago and it's putting a steady growth and lots of fruit this year. Avocado can take time, but I'm patient, so this one coming along nicely. And next to it is my dwarf Mayer lemon. These will grow well in container because it's compact and very productive. I already have some little lemon forming after those fragrant spring blooms. I feed it every month with citrus fertilizer and keep it in full sun. And my sunflowers this year, this one is mammoth sunflower, are finishing up for their season. The head full of seed and still standing tall. So I will harvest them today. And I will leave some seed for the birds and save a few for planting next year. And finally, wrapping up around the arbor, you will see my passion fruit vine, and this is the second year, and I planted in containers because you know that passion fruit can take over the space really fast. So planting in container will keep the plants small, but they also produce a lot of fruit. And next to it is my lime tree, both adding a tropical vibe and practical harvest to this garden. Oh, and I cannot forget to show you this one. So this video was from last year. My tangerine tree is absolutely loaded with fruit every single year. The branches are just full and the fruit is sweet, juicy, and worth the wait. And they usually ripen right around Christmas time, which make them even more special. I love sharing them with my families, neighbors, and friends during the holiday. It's just a little gift from the garden to everyone that I care about, and they really love it. So I grow them in full sun and feed it monthly during the growing season with citrus fertilizer. So as long as it has a good drainage and plenty of light, it really doesn't ask for much. Alright, so now we finished the south side garden and some of the fruit tree around the garden. Now let's take a look at my north side garden. It's a bit shadier over here, but still full of life, and I dedicated this space for Asian herbs that thrive in partial shade. So these Asian herbs, I'm growing Vietnamese coriander, Thai basil, perilla, fish mint, lemongrass, and a couple varieties of peppers. So this herb brings so much flavor in my cooking. And this corner of the garden feels just like home. It smells like my childhood and reminds me of a family meal. So this garden really is a mix of everything that I love: vegetable, herbs, fruit tree, flowers, and flavor. And it's a little food forest right here at my home. Alright, that's the garden tour, my friends. I hope you enjoy seeing what's growing here at Sandra Urban Garden. From juicy tomatoes to dragon fruit dreams, every plant tells a story and every harvest is a little victory. So whether you have a backyard, a balcony, or just a few pots on the patio, you can grow something beautiful too. Gardening is not about perfections, it's about progress and joy. And thank you guys so much for spending this time with me, and let me know in the comment what's growing in your garden, and see you next time, and happy gardening.